Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired Women Gathering Show. This is a show that talks about all things from life, relationships, spirituality, business, and everything in between. Women inspire me through their stories, their resilience, resourcefulness, tenacity, and the powerful movement that we make in the world. I love connecting and having deep conversations, sharing with you the women I am so blessed to know and who inspire me, especially as we navigate through this deep unknowing in this world today. My name is Dixie Bennett. I'm your host, and I'm a soulful women and wealth coach and healer, helping you live an abundant life and sustainable business. And I created this platform to highlight amazing women who I come across and connect with, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. I'm so excited to introduce to you my guest today, a very dear friend who's so gifted in so many ways. Her name is Tannia Fortier, and our topic today is 16 stones. Tannia provides quality handmade products, knowledge, and guidance to human, horse, and hound all over the world. In 2011, Tannia started a magical journey where she was inspired to take a certification in color and crystal therapy, with one module that stood out to her called Crystal Therapy for Animals. Motivated by what she learned, Tannia used her knowledge to work with animals, offering support using gemstones. These astounding results in releasing stress and anxiety with the animals, her first company, Healer's Gemstones, came to be. Early 2020, Tannia felt a calling to provide a deeper level of empowerment and connection between people and their animals, and her new company, 16 Stones, which combines her love of quilting, meditation, circles, and gemstones that help to support body, mind, heart, and soul. So welcome, Tannia. It's so good to have you here.
Good morning, Dixie. So honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So good to be with you. So tell me, so where in the world are you?
I live in Calgary, Alberta, and handcraft everything I make right from here, right from my home here in Calgary.
Awesome, beautiful. So tell me a little bit about, we alluded in your bio just a little bit about some ahas and some awakenings, and you know, I'm so excited to be here with you today because I know that you have so many gifts, and I'm kind of wearing a lot of your gifts, and you know, we'll talk about this a little bit, but tell me a little bit about how you got started and really what you do and how you got into it.
So back in 2011, I've always been a self-employed entrepreneur. I've always had day homes, and I've run a hairdressing business, and I've always kind of done my own creative thing. In 2011, I, out of the blue, decided to take a color and crystal therapy course. At that time, not really realizing how it would change and impact my life. Beautiful course, but the fun thing about this course is there was a module on animals and children. And I thought to myself at the time, you know, gemstones are beautiful for us, but how odd that we would use them to support our pets. But I had my little Maddie. She was part Yorkie, part Karen, and she suffered from very severe car sickness. This module said that if I tried certain gemstones with Maddie, that Maddie wouldn't vomit in the car anymore. So I thought, well, what the hell? I'll try these rocks and see what happens. So I made up a little charm for her, put it on her. We drove out to Innisfell. She didn't throw up. I took the charm off. She vomited. We tried it several times, same results. Then I started with my sister trying her animals. These beautiful, incredible, it was just mind-blowing to me. So that is what started this journey. We started experimenting with more and more animals at Alberta Kennel Clubs. We do their summer classic. We started working with a lot of those animals to see what kind of impact we could have on those animals. And it's just grown and grown and grown over the last 10 years.
That's amazing. Wow. So, and it's interesting you say rocks, right? I know I was like, why do people collect rocks? Like I never understood it.
Yeah.
And then I had this awakening myself where I was just like, wow, these are like so amazing. The healing properties, like are to me, like I mean, I feel energy. So I just was so palpable. But I never really paid attention to it before. And I started recognizing for myself, like when I put on different stones, how I felt. And it was just, some of them were really instantaneous and others were kind of subtle. how powerful for the animals to recognize that right away. Do you have
Well,
any?
yeah, it's incredible. So one of the biggest things first of all, when I speak of we, in the first 8 years of my business, I was in business with my beautiful sister, Trina. And she helped me along this journey. She has her own beautiful gifts, and we grew together. And so one of the most beautiful things that we used to do, or that I still do, is get people in touch with their intuition. So we would put out bowls of crystals at different shows, and we would ask people to place their animal in their heart or in their mind, and then put their hands in the bowls. And what stone were they drawn to pick up? What stone were they drawn to touch? That is their intuition. That is their animal speaking through them, or their animal speaking to them. And that is how a lot of the times we would design a collection for them, or we would choose a gemstone. It's so important, that animal-human connection, and that's what we try and teach, is to listen to that intuition.
That is so powerful and so true. So I love that you teach that. And so what happens with people, like when they come up, when they were having that experience where they were starting to tune in and connect to their animal and then choose the stone?
Incredible things. So a lot of times empowerment, that they could actually do that themselves. And that's what I strive, is to teach people that they can do this themselves. This is not something they need someone else for. Sometimes tears of joy, sometimes tears of sadness. If they'd lost a pet, or a pet was ill, relief. It's just incredible. We have people who walk into the booth and just say, what is that I'm feeling? What is going on with me? Why am I drawn to be in here, and why am I crying? So, again, it's that education and that empowerment, that this is an okay, safe place. This is not, you don't need to be worried or scared. The biggest thing for 16 Stones is to teach people that they are in a safe place and a simple place, and that they can ask any questions that they want, or they can feel free to just be who they are and say what they need to say, and so that we can kind of find what they need. Yeah.
Powerful. Oh, I love those stories. Yeah, because I know, and you do such a good job in your booth, and it definitely is a sacred space when you walk into it.
Thank you, Dixie.
So tell me a little bit, do you have a story, like a favorite story of an animal or an experience that somebody had that they came back and shared?
Well, there's
I'm sure you have a million.
A million. But I will share a story about this. He is a beautiful elderly man. He was about 70, 75 years old. He came into our booth at one of the main events, which is a big horse show. Very real cowboy. He basically set me straight on the Saturday and said, I am only in this booth to support my wife. I'm not here for any other reason. I don't really believe in this stuff. I'm just here to support my wife. Yeah. So he said, you know what? No problem. Enjoy the energy, right? Here's our website. Go home tonight, do some homework, have a look around. His wife ended up picking up some treasures for herself, and off they went. The next morning, we are standing in our booth, and this man, this same gentleman, he comes down the aisle, and his hands are in the air, and he's screaming, I'm a believer. You girls need to go see these girls. I'm a believer.
Oh my gosh.
And he did the most incredible things. He took little bags that we had, and he made saddle packs for his horses. He took our brow bands, and he did all kinds of, he just did the most incredible things to support his animal in that day. And I'll never forget him, because it was just the smile and the joy, and that he had that aha connection, right? And to this day, he still uses all of those stones to support his herd, right? Which is such a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so cool. I love it. I'm a believer.
Yeah, it was so awesome. But from an animal perspective, for me, one of the most beautiful things is when you have gemstones on, and I will talk particularly about amethyst. If you go out into a herd of horses and you have a piece of amethyst with you, the horses will be drawn to that amethyst, even if it's a tiny piece. They're such beautiful, incredible, divine beings, but they will come looking for that amethyst. And a lot of people get a little bit afraid by that, because they can be quite in your face, right?
Yeah.
They're going to nuzzle you and nibble you and lick you, and because they want to be close to that amethyst. They love the vibration of amethyst. And so that is always such a special moment for me, because it's such an affirmation that the energy is there and it's real and it's alive, and it's, you know, they just want me to know that this is, you know, this is real, right? This is
Well, amethyst, you know, amethyst is a master healer.
Yes, exactly.
And it's one of the higher vibrational stones, and it's just so gentle, so warm, considered the crown chakra.
Yep.
Right? So very high vibration, but also I find it very, very gentle and yet very powerful.
Yeah. We used, my sister had a cat, chronic urinary tract infections every 3 months on medication. And we read that if we put amethyst in the water, that it would change the vibration, of course, being the master healer, but also the taste. And animals love the taste. So cats will drink more water and in turn have that internal amethyst energy, or that essence. And my sister's cats, were urinary tract free for 5 years until they passed. I mean, they never had another one. And interestingly enough, as they became older seniors, they wrapped themselves around the bowl with the amethyst, and then that's where they would sleep, because they knew, they felt that energy in there. Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Animals know. I would say animals know. They just know.
Yeah, they sure do. When we do Alberta Kennel Club Summer Classic, we're known as the water ladies or the water gals, because what we do is we put 6 bowls out and we put a different gemstone in each bowl with water. Right. And the animals will literally come up to our booth, they'll sniff each bowl, and then they will decide what they need. There's no ego, there's no baggage, they they know what they need. So all weekend long, they will drink from that bowl. If we move the bowls around, they will find that bowl again. And it's just so cool to watch that, because there's just no inhibition. They just go for what they need, right? So,
yeah, I love that. Well, I know, you know, since I met you, like many of the bracelets that you've made, like I love, there's definitely an energy that I feel in them that's so different from anyone else.
Thank you.
And one of the things I do is birthday energy alignments, and so I would gift the bracelet, you know, for their birthday alignment. And even to this day, like all the bracelets that I personally have, like none of them have broken. The energy is so beautiful, and I know that you use like different packages, and part of it too, I know that you have kind of like a special ceremony. Well, I call it a ceremony, whether you do or not. I'd love for you just to share a little bit about, you know, the different combinations of stones that you use. Sure. And when you sit down to well, just, you know, to me it's like a ritual, right? So
it is yeah.
So I would love for you to share a little bit about that sacred ritual.
So I do not bead or create. I'm always in a place of love and intention. If I feel some days that I'm off, then those are not beading days. It's very, very important to me to be grounded and to be in that heart space, be in that love space. The beautiful thing about 16 stones is that I got to play with some new gems. So the new collections are body, mind, heart, and soul. So if you think of the body collection, it's a collection of 4 gemstones that support your physical vitality, environmental toxins, protect you from those, strength of the body, the muscles, the blood flow, pain, stiffness, think anything in the physical. When you move into our mind collection, it's all about
well, talk a little bit about, like, talk about the stones, the specific stones.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So in body, we're looking at black tourmaline, which is a beautiful, beautiful stone for pain and stiffness, but also for that sponge effect, for you're the type of person that walks into a room and takes on people's junk. It protects you from that junk.
Empaths, basically. Sensitives and empaths.
Yeah, beautiful stone for that. Tiger iron is all about the physical. It's just physical vitality. It's 3 stones kind of smashed into one. It's very, very powerful for your physical health and well-being. Citrine is a feel-better stone, really good for nausea. It's just really good for stress and anxiety. A lot of people will go to citrine actually even for abundance, for a money stone.
Yeah, it's one of my
smoky quartz is accidents and emergencies. A lot of first responders keep it in their kits. It'll actually prevent an animal or a human from going into shock. So just very, very powerful stones in the body collection to support our physical health. When we move into our mind collection, those stones are all about concentration and learning new things and focus and right brain, left brain functioning. So you look at turquoise as your communication, and you look at your blue fluorite, which is right brain, left brain functioning, precision training. So really important when you're working with animals. You look at carnelian, which is your courage and confidence. So if you don't have the courage and confidence, you have trouble learning new things. The other beautiful thing about carnelian is it increases the sense of touch. So if you're a hands-on healer, carnelian's beautiful for that. The new stone in that collection I'm so excited about is angel aura quartz. So just that our connection to the divine. It's again a beautiful stone for, I don't know, it balances those 3 out. I was just so drawn to put that stone in that collection. But it's all about that connection to the divine and being open to, you know, what our thoughts and what we need to understand and we need to hear. So then we move into our new heart collection. So heart is brand new stone. So, and it is powerful. It's incredible for trust and love. But because certain stones in this collection are really hard hitters for stress, anxiety, depression, when I started researching them, I just was vibrating. I'm so excited to launch this collection. It hasn't been launched yet. Hopefully soon it'll be up and running. So we start with garnet, which garnet is a beautiful grounding stone. Again, the blood, it's an amazing stone for this heart collection. Then I move into rhodochrosite, which
I love rhodochrosite.
And it's so what I've been guided to move in. I had rose quartz, which I honor and love rose quartz, but we are in a time where there is a lot of uncertainty, and there is a lot of people struggling with self-love, and rhodochrosite is just a harder hitter. It's a lot stronger than rose quartz, and it just hits harder than rose quartz does. Chrysoprase is beautiful green heartstone, but again, amazing for peace and amazing for calming and just living freely, you know, living with the heart and being comfortable to live with your heart. For animals, it's that just that peace. They just feel so just it's that kind of a feeling. And then you move into seraphinite. So seraphinite is a beautiful deep green stone. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. It almost has the look of angel wings in a big piece. It's all about that connection to the divine, but it's a dark green heartstone, so really good for feelings of anger and aggression, frustration, and with that angelic connection, it just moves you through that beautifully. Then we move on to soul. So soul has our master healer. It has our amethyst in it. Soul is it's a collection that is really good for stress and anxiety. It's really good for just, you know, a soul connection, right? So it has your amethyst, which is, again, that master healer, really good for stress and anxiety, but also for, well, I mean, it's our crown chakra, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful stone for that balance. A lot of times when we're feeling angry and aggressive or frustrated, we're sitting too much in our root chakra, and the amethyst will just balance that out. Then we've got moonstone, white moonstone, again, amazing for stress and anxiety, but also good for new mothers. It's good for new environments. It's really good for balance-related disorder, things like that. And of course, the feminine, really good for balance of your hormones. Then we're going to go into labradorite, which I love that as a connection stone, connection to the soul, connection to the divine, but it also sits in that third eye chakra. And then demorderite is our balance. A lot of people with menopause related disorders love demorderite. It's really good for our balance related disorders. A lot of people in this uncertainty are feeling very out of balance. And so demorderite really helps with that, helps open our intuition and our third eye. So that's it. That's our body, mind, heart, and soul. So
beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you always know that you had a connection to stones, or like a sixth sense or an intuitive ability?
Not in 2011, definitely not. Even when I started then, the stones came to me intuitively. And at the time I was like, what the heck is happening? This is like, why am I in the bathtub envisioning these 4 stones in this collection, right? Like it was so I would go to my poor sister and I'd say, it needs to be these 4 stones. Now I need to score the world to find them. So the same thing happened, but much stronger. Last year, when I was basically told that my business was going to be shifting and changing, we were going to focus on 16 stones, and these 16 stones were going to be connected in so many ways. So 16 stones, 16 angels, 16 colors, chakras, totem animals, like there's so much connected to this 16 stones. And then these new stones started to appear to me, how I needed to switch them out, how I needed to change them. So that's how, yeah, it's I feel incredibly grateful and honored to understand and listen to my intuition, to be able to understand what they're trying to say to me and to actually absorb that, take it in, and do something about it. That to me is such a gift. So yeah.
Oh, it is for sure. Well, and I think it's and to listen to it. Did you ever have a time where you're like, this is bull crap. I don't really want to, I don't understand what's happening.
There's definitely times even, even now where, you kind of sit back and you go, is this really happening? Is this really real? Like these stones move me and do so much for me, but do they really resonate, and do they really do all these beautiful things for other people? And it's interesting how the divine and how spirit works, because at those times is usually when I have people reaching out to me saying, this is what you've done for my pet, or this is what you've done for me. Or I'll have those small moments where I'll meet an animal on the street and that animal will react to me and will do certain things, and it's just a reminder that yes, what you're doing is important and you need to continue. Yeah.
Did you ever have a time where you fought against it and were like, no, this is not right, I'm not sure about this?
So in the very beginning, for sure, in the very beginning, as I said, they were rocks. Yeah. How can rocks do that? And my dad, he always used to say to me, TJ, eyes wide open or you're gonna miss it. And I have to tell you, like, that advice has served me so well, because it's the tiny minute things that we all miss on an everyday basis, right?
Eyes wide open.
Eyes wide open, are you gonna miss it, TJ? And he's so right, because in the beginning, my eyes were not wide open. I had a lot of resistance, but once I started working and trusting and sitting in a place of love and heart space, that it just totally changed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. So along the way, have you had any like mentors or people that really supported you in helping to open yourself up?
Well, of course, working with my sister was a beautiful journey. 2 years ago, I took, or well, actually 3 years ago, I took a course out at the Crystal Cottage in Crossfield. Charlene, an angel guidance practitioner course.
Mm-hmm.
That is where things really started to shift and things really started to change. We worked with 16 angels in a wheel,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the beginning. So basically, the 16 angels took over, 16 gemstones stepped forward for those angels, which happened to be my 16.
Yeah.
Then we worked with 16 totem animals within the wheel. The chakra colors started to fall into play. It was just this beautiful, it's been this beautiful transformation. As I took this course, we would basically, we would create this basically sacred space on a quilt on the floor, like just a throw blanket on the floor. And at that time, what came to me was that this isn't right. We need sacred space. I need sacred space to do this ritual or to do this tradition or to feel that I'm connected in this space. I need sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom is a beautiful quilter. And so I basically went to her and said, Mom, I need to create a circular quilt with 16 triangles. She basically told me, have you lost your mind? Like, this is crazy. I've never seen a quilt like that.
Right.
And I said to her, well, it has to be 16 triangles. It has to be this 54 inches and it has to be circular. So I basically, her and I sat down, we started figuring things out. I went and bought a round tablecloth. I cut it into 16 triangles and we started sewing. We started creating, and lots of trials and tribulations. The wheel behind me is my first wheel. So it's quite fun when I look at it because a lot of the triangles are very off. But yeah, it's just, she's being with her and spending time with her. And when we quilt, we're in the same mind space. We're in the same, it's all love and intention. It's all joy and happiness. And as we pick the triangles, I connect with the angels and ask them if that's where they want to be and which fabric they want to use. Or if I'm doing a chakra wheel, I sit, in sacred space, and how is that going to look? How do we want this to look? I make sure that each 16 panel in the chakra quilt is associated with each of the stones in that order, right? So there's so much love and intention that goes in connection. It's all this beautiful connection. So yeah.
Well, I can attest to that. Well, I'll share mine because this is the story, right? I just, as we created mine, I think there it is there. And you kind of see that.
It's so beautiful.
And it was, I went through major surgery last year, and I was so drawn when I happened to, we were just having a conversation, and I'm like, I so need to make one. And so I came over, this is just a testimonial for you, but I came over to her house and she laid out all this fabric. And I was just like, wow, what is this? What's going to happen here? And it was so amazing how the fabrics just jumped out for the different pieces and how it came together in such a beautiful way. And even as I look at this piece now, I actually have two. I have a big one for the ground. And then I wanted this one as a smaller one, just to support me, especially, in the hospital and at home. And there's the hawk on it as well. So one of my animal totems actually is the hawk. And when this material came out, I was like, oh my God, right? And so we actually put it on the back of a whole bunch of other animals because it's there's so much representation in that. But I loved how we put it in the center, especially kind of behind the sun and the moon, and then just all the chakras and different aspects that are represented in it. And the energy around it when we created it, like when we came together and just put the pieces together, it would just like snapped in energetically. And
I was so honored to create that with you. And you're right, that day was so magical. But I want to share a little story about that quilt. So putting that hawk in the center was totally out of my wheelhouse. My mom I'm usually the measurer, the cutter, the placement. My mom's the sewer. And so when I created Your Wheel, my mom was away and I had to step out of my box. And I mean, I've sewed for years, but I had to be the main sewer. So I basically finished the quilt, placed the center wheel, the little circle, and the product that I used to attach it was really gluey. It was really sticky, and it came through the product. And I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do, right? And I go, all right, Divine totally had this planned out. So I was totally meant to put this hawk across the front. And so when you had mentioned that to me, it was like, that is why this ended up all gluey, because I was meant to put this beautiful, and it just looks like it's flying in front of the sun. Like, I was so overjoyed when I finished it.
It totally is. Like
the way it happened was it was such a lesson in trust. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that is so, it's like that when we create a quilt. It's like that when we create our collections, when we do our custom work with, like, we have a lot of people that will come to us with animals in their heart, and they'll be like, this is what they're struggling with, and this is what I need support with, and I will create a custom piece for them by tuning into their animal or into themselves, or getting them to tune into their animal. We will find, you know, what's best for them, and then we'll create something special for them. And we always can find a way to attach it. Like, I do pet necklaces and charms and rhythm beads and bridal bands and, you know, all kinds of standard things. But if we need to create something unique and special in order to get the stones onto that animal, then we will figure out a way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a profound thing. And I know that you said the 16 stones, like, that is a shift and a change. So really, what was it about the 16 stones that really called to you to shift? Because it's a big shift. It's a big shift in your business. It's a big shift.
Huge.
In products. It's a big shift in the designs. So why is 16 stones so important? I know you talked a bit about it in your training.
Yeah, so so 2 years ago, my sister decided to leave the business. Mm-hmm. And at that time we had 15 stones and 5 collections. Mm-hmm. So the next few years I was kind of like a deer in the headlights. I had to try and kind of find my way. I realized I needed to take my power back. Being in a partnership is much different than being a sole entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I had shared a lot of my power, and she was incredible at it. But when she wasn't with me any longer, I needed to take my power back and to stand into my power. Mm-hmm. And so I had started the transition. I knew I was going to do a new website. I knew I was only going to have my 4 collections, my 16 stones, but I hadn't really put anything like that into motion, or I hadn't really out loud vocalized what was going to happen. Trying to find a name. I kept trying to find a name and trying to find a name, couldn't find a name and for my company. And last year I was at the New Earth Expo in Saskatoon. And you know, universe always works in magical ways. And so my booth was on the corner and I had this lovely young lady next to me. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I had no idea how much she would impact my life. So, you know, Friday, we had clients all day. I did my spiel with them. We talked, I created, we made what needed to be made, sold what I had my wheels there. People were loving my wheels. It was this beautiful day. And her and I were chatting a little bit and, you know, gotten to know each other. Anyways, I come in on Saturday morning and she looks at me and she says, I have a message for you. Mm. And I looked at her and I said, a message for me? She goes, you know, normally I don't just walk up to people and tell them I have a message, but she says, I have a feeling that you really want to hear this one. Mm. And I said, okay. And she goes, 16 stones. I said, oh my, you know, I started crying. I started laughing. I'm like, you nailed it. Like, that's the name of my company. I've been searching for this for a year. Wow. And here you just like gave it to me. And it was at that exact moment that things started to fall into place. Right. 16 stones, 16 angels, like 16 flowers. It just, everything magically just, as soon as I put it out there to the universe that my company is 16 stones, it just started to magically, just everything fits. It's like the puzzle came together. Yeah, and it was vibrational. Like everyone I say it to feels this vibration. It's just this incredible thing, right? So yeah,
I think it's so important to listen to that, because one of the things I teach a lot my clients and customers is about how, you know, tuning in to the consciousness of your business. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned the hard way as well. Is, I mean, my first business name is Still Point Body Works, and it wasn't something I chose. It was something that literally came, kind of dropped in through, you know, intuition. And I was really resistant to it at first. But when I, you know, as I kind of grew into it and I tested it out, you know, as a good marketer does, and you know, went through all the process of just, you know, checking it, and even to this day, you know, 10 years later, it still feels so good as the healing center, right? And then my other piece is Inspired Women Gathering. And same thing. It was a divine download. And I really personally didn't actually like the name at first. And it's like, really? I'm like, what is that about? Like, I just don't know about it. And, you know, again, it's just, it feels so divine. And I find that when you listen to that, the pieces, all the pieces just start to snap in.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
You can't even... like, it's not a forcing. You're not making it happen. It's just things are in the flow, right?
Yeah,
so I call it the divine flow. And when you really are listening in and feel it, the people show up, the clients show up, the opportunities start to show up, and you just start moving through it. And it's just like, oh, you need this. Here's the next person to give you this information.
Yeah.
It's profound.
Yeah, it is definitely profound, for sure. It's a beautiful feeling to be supported by the universe that way. Yeah, I sit in deepest gratitude every day. I'm so honored to be able to support people and animals, you know, in this way, in this beautiful way. You know, I'm so grateful that this is my job, and like, this is what I do in this lifetime. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Did you ever, and I mean, did you see yourself doing this type of work?
Oh, God, no.
Like, what was the turning point for you? So when, you know, I know you started in 2011, which is so ironic, because that was my big awakening of like leaving my corporate job and starting, like, I started my business in 2011. And so what was your turning point of what were you doing before, and then what made you decide to kind of start stepping into this direction?
You know, I had this feeling there was just more out there. You know, I love children, and I'd had a day home for many years, and being a hairdresser, it kind of filled that creativity void for me. But I started, you know, just kind of understand and realizing that there's more out there. When I started taking my color and crystal therapy course, the next thing, of course, was we made a product. We did the first main event. And we met so many people at that main event that were in our lives for a reason. So one of the beautiful human beings that I met, she has a ranch out near Water Valley, and she has rescue horses.
Oh, wow.
So she basically invited us out to bring some of our products and kind of be with the rescue horses.
Beautiful. And
when I walked into the field with that herd of 15 rescues, I have to tell you, I was terrified, because of course, unbeknownst to me, they're all coming towards me because I have gems all over myself. And fear stepped in, definitely. But I think it was at that moment where I kind of had to step into trust. I'm here with this person who trusts these animals. This is such a divinely inspired moment, and I need to step into trust. I'll never forget one of her rescues, Brooke. At that moment when I decided to trust, all of a sudden I feel this humongous head come flying over me, and she grabs me by the chest, this big head, and she pulls me towards her.
Wow.
And because I was in this place of trust, otherwise I probably would have ran away screaming, but she was hugging me basically to say, this is what, you know, we're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were then taken over to the riding kind of field, and that's, you know, I just designed my rhythm beads at the time, and Barbara said, you designed the rhythm beads, so now let's give them a whirl, right?
Wow.
Because you've never used them, you've just designed them for all these incredible people, but you've never used them.
Right.
So she had Athena there, and she basically had the rhythm beads on Athena, threw me up on her back, bareback, and said, have at her.
Oh, wow.
And I, in this lifetime, had never been on a horse.
I was just going to ask.
Losing my mind. I thought I was going to fall off and you know, and die, basically. I'll never forget Barbara. She said, trust, connect at your heart and trust.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment, she said, listen to the beads. You designed them for this reason. Listen to the beads. And Athena started walking forward, and as soon as she would walk, the beads would jingle. The brass bells would ring. And I just felt this incredible connection to her heart and this incredible connection to her rhythm. And within like 20 strides, we were one. We were connected. And I remember coming.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I remember coming off that horse, and Barbara said, "How do you feel?" And I just said, "I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm home." Yeah. And at that moment, my life had changed. At that moment, life was different for me. I've had to trust in what this is since that moment. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so powerful. I love that story. Well, and I've talked with, you know, I work with the humans, and I've worked with animals over the years, especially coming from a farming background where I've gone and worked with cattle and that kind of thing, especially moms and babies who've separated, because the energy is so powerful. There's just a disconnect, but it happens with humans too. Yeah. And when we can reconnect the energy, it's really powerful. But one of the things that I learned, is I work with a lot of humans, rodeo humans, and they're always like, come and work with my animals, come work with my horses. And I'm just like, I need to work with the humans, because that's my gift. Yeah. And I recognized, I went out to, I think I've shared this story before on maybe one of the other interviews, but I was watching, quite a few of my clients have been senior pro rodeo barrel racers.
Yes.
And so I went up to support them and watch them in High River one day. And I was watching all of these beautiful souls, men and women, on their horses doing their ride. Yeah. And they literally transform into these young people. I was watching the energy shift. Yeah, and totally. Then when they got off the horse, they could barely walk. And they were just so, their bodies were so gnarled and just so, just in a lot of pain. But when they were on that horse, they were completely transformed into a younger version of themselves, because the heart chakra is right underneath the saddle, right? And so where you sit, especially bareback, and that's when the horse and the human become one.
They do.
Right?
One of the things that I feel is so important, a lot of times if the animal is struggling, it's because their human is struggling. And so one of the beautiful things that we came out with a few years ago is a companion pack. And so what I love about this is that in a roundabout way, we can support the human, and we also support the animal at the same time. And so basically that it's a charm or a pet necklace or whatever we're doing for the animal, and then we do a bracelet for the human. And we've seen this incredible shift happen when you're wearing the same gemstones. There just is open connection and communication, and there's a sense of calmness, of oneness. It's just this beautiful thing. It's probably one of my favorite products that we offer. there was a really interesting story about that. So I did the Spruce Meadows Nationals one year. And we had a client, she came running into our booth and she said, my daughter is supposed to compete in jumping. She just fell off her horse. Her horse is a mess. She's a mess. What can we do? So we put the Mind Collection bracelet on her daughter. We wove the Mind Collection charm into her pet, or into her horse's mane, actually. We said to the mom, see if this changes or shifts or does anything, for your daughter and the animal. It'll give her courage and confidence, or it'll shift the energy from being fearful from falling off to being connected emotionally and connected, right? Anyways, mom came running in the next day and her daughter took first place. And she said, I don't know what kind of magic beans you guys have here. She said, what was that?
Take them. I would like some more, please.
And we said to her, it's all about energy. We're energetic beings and they are energetic beings, and the fall shifted something. And by adding gemstones and her believing in those gemstones, we were able to shift the energy again back to something that was more positive and more beneficial. And they did all the work. We just supplied the catalyst, right? We just supplied the tool. But Companion, it's with so much stress and anxiety in our world right now. Our animals feel that. Our animals are our sponges, and so by supporting them in that way, it's just a beautiful thing to do for them. So.
I love that story. So many stories. I love it. So from a business perspective, do you enjoy doing this as a business?
Oh yeah, there's no words to describe it. Every day as I said, I sit in gratitude. I can't believe this is my job. It's just, what could be better, right? I'm surrounded with quilts and fabrics and gemstones and animals, and what could be better? There's nothing else that could be better than that.
So I know definitely in this time that we're in, we're in a global transition, and I know that a lot of your business has been dependent on markets and events and trade shows, and so what are some of the things that you're doing to kind of shift your business, because that's where you get most of your
totally from, it's definitely it's definitely been a challenge. The main event always happens at the end of April. Actually, last weekend. It's one of my biggest shows of the year. I usually probably make about 10 to 12 pairs of rhythm beads that they sit on the horse's drive line around their neck as the horse moves the bells ring. There's a beautiful piece, this beautiful tool. Of course, I didn't have any of that income. So what I've basically been doing, and of course in transition from Healers Gemstones to 16 Stones, the website's not quite up and running. So what we did is I basically offered some really great incentives on Healers Gemstones before we shut down. Still open for custom work, been posting on Instagram and Facebook quite a bit. And then basically started making masks. So fun masks, face masks. There's very a lot of people. A lot of people are creating them. I didn't create them because, I wanted them to be this amazing business opportunity. I created them because I wanted to bring some fun and some joy. So mine are a little unique in the sense that they're horse prints and dog prints and chakra, quilted chakra masks. My mom said I was crazy. I quilted 8 pieces of fabric together to make a chakra mask. Just trying to keep busy in this kind of crazy place. I have my products offered in a few places. Nurture in Crowfoot, she has some quilts down there. So if anyone's looking for a quilt and they need to touchy feel, they'll go down, send them down to Maureen. Also, still doing custom work. If you want to, we can get together through FaceTime or whatever, and we can try and pick some fabrics for you that way. Just thank good for Instagram and Facebook right now, because it's just been a way for me to showcase my products, get my products out there, keep people connected, that kind of thing. So yeah.
So, and what about, like, how do you see your business shifting for the future? Because I know we're going to be live events I mean, they'll come back eventually, but it's going to be a while before
it's going to be a huge challenge for sure. Definitely I'm getting more comfortable with my videos. So that was another thing that came to me in December of 2019, is that Spirit basically told me that I'm going to be speaking more. If you'd have told me that a year ago, I would have said, no way, Jose.
I know. When we talked, I was just like, wow. I expected you to say no.
Yes. So I did the Illuminate Psychic Fair at the end of January, and I actually had to speak for an hour, and it was my honor to speak for an hour. I had never, in front of a group of 50 people, told my story or shared my passion. It went over really, really well, and it was so incredibly. So as I went into that speech, Divine would not let me write anything down. So every time I tried to sit down to prepare for this speech, I was basically told no. Basically said, no, you've got this. You need to do this from your heart center. This is not something you need to prepare for, write down. And I really struggled with that in the beginning. And then finally, you know what? The ADD brain of myself just said, okay, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to trust in this. And it was incredible. The day that I did it, I don't even remember speaking really very much. It was so divinely done. I got up there, introduced myself, and I couldn't even tell you what I talked about for the first half an hour. And then I heard from Divine, okay, now we're joining in conversation. So we had this beautiful back and forth conversation with me and 50 people for the last half an hour, and it was just, yeah, it was incredible. So I definitely see that being more of more education piece in the future.
I so love that, and speaking's huge. And I mean, the past Dixie, you know, I was just like, I never wanted to talk. But I'll tell you, the biggest. I did a talk. It was a 10-minute talk at a women's networking group that I was doing, and I had my talk all written out, and I was reading the talk, and there was this gap on the page. For whatever reason, there was just like this gap in the page of extra spacing for whatever reason, but it triggered something inside of me. And it was literally the experience where I actually stepped back and something else came in. And I don't remember. I wish I recorded the talk. I have no idea what I said. It was no longer what was on the page. And, so cool. You know, even to this day, there's women who still come up to me. And this was probably about 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Wow, that's
women
so cool.
Still come up to me, and they're just like, oh my God, I'll never forget that talk. Like you just hit me right in the heart. And, you know, I'm just like, wow, like I really wish
I love that.
Right? Yeah. That's when we get out of our own way and we think we know what we want to say, but we need to feel what we know, what to say. Yes. Right? And just get out of the way and just share.
It was so, Kathy came up to me at the end of the fair, and she said, you know, your video had the most views and your talk had the most participants. And she just said, that is incredible for someone who's never spoke before. And I was so honored by that. I was like, wow. And then, you know, it's that trust, right? So
but it's another confirmation that you're being in divine connection for a bigger purpose, right? Because it's not just, everything is energy. So it's when we are in full energetic alignment, we're speaking the divine truth, we're leading with the divine truth, we're building with the divine truth. And so everything, the extension of you, is just the divine energy that's being expressed.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So it comes through the product, it comes through the conversation, it comes through the connection, it comes through the video.
Thank you, Dixie. So, yeah. So great. Thank you.
So this, to me, this is what conscious business is, right? Yes. So and would you say, you know, do you agree that that spirituality and business need to go hand in hand together?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's no question. I truly believe that. I truly believe that we're here to support people, to teach them how to love themselves, to love others. So it's all about love. Love is the message.
Love is the message, yeah.
Yeah, and I personally don't believe that you can be successful in business unless you come from your heart center, unless you come from your heart. And I know a lot of people talk about it's a mindful business. It's all in it's your mind. You've got to think. I spent a lot of years thinking about everything, and in the last little while I'm trying to feel. I'm trying to come from a place of feeling, not come from a place of thinking.
I still there's a balance, I believe. Like, we still have to have strategy and technique.
Oh yes, yeah,
right,
definitely.
But there is a big part of just the allowance. And you know, even just with Inspired Women Gathering, for me, like, when it came through, I'm just like, well, what does this mean? Like, I don't know what the direction is. I don't know what it, you know, and I started with it, and then all of a sudden the podcast came out. You know, it was just kind of like, okay, this is just a natural next step, I guess, you know. And it just felt the right time and the right experience. And you know, it's an opportunity to really dive deeper into just a different sort of conversation.
Well, and I think you're doing such a beautiful service to people. You're offering things from so many directions and so many avenues, and you talk about that balance, right? You're really, I find so many of the people that you're bringing in to have these conversations with, it provides a beautiful balance.
Thank you for saying that. Well, and I feel, you know, it's about the pieces. You know, I even now, like, I'm just, you know, as I'm, you know, this whole, you know, my business is brick and mortar, has been for the last 10 years. And you know, it's like I lost quite a bit of income from that. I mean, I still have online, and I still have a portion of it, but, you know, I was doing a lot of, you know, face-to-face, one-to-one experience. And, you know, as I've been, you know, had this time to really kind of sit inward and just see what wants to evolve, you know, it's still being built. But it's so important just to say yes, and just to allow for it to be built. And the next puzzle piece comes in, the next person. You know, I love how you were at that booth, and I do find, like, I find the greatest people that I have connected with over the years have been from events, trade shows, retreats. Like, the most pivotal people in my life, who are still in my life, I've met at these very important places where I just said yes, and I just showed up. And then I meet the next person.
Exactly.
Or the next, you know. And so I think one of my other friends said it really beautifully. Like, we're all in this beautiful experiment of, you know, just experiment and see what wants to take shape, and what, you know, try different things, and just kind of see where it wants to go, because, you know, nobody has ever been here before.
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly right. It's new to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's pushing us out into our comfort zone, and getting on digital business, I think, is one of the biggest, you know, that's the piece that I hear. And I mean, there's people who've been doing it for years and years and years. And, you know, they're just kind of like, haha, you know, we've been doing this forever. Like, you guys are behind the ball, you know?
And that's an interesting point you make, because that, for me, this is not different. So, you know, COVID's self-isolation is my everyday life. I'm quite an introvert at times, and this is quite comfortable for me to just be at home and to not, it's just, and I've always been online. I've always, you know, created from home, with the exception of events. This is not different for me. This is just normal life for me, right? I am very blessed, though, to have a significant other that has kept his job, that works from home now. He didn't work from home before March 9th, but works from home now. And he has a good job, and he has a good income. So I'm truly blessed to have that in my life, because you know, there are so many out there that don't have that, and I imagine they must be sitting in a very different situation. So again, that's something I'm very grateful for every day, because I can develop my passion and I can work hard on my business and you know, take pride in every little bit of abundance, or take heart in every little bit of abundance, and not be worried as much or be in fear as much, right? Or those everyday essentials, right? So yeah.
So what would you say, like what are some things or some personal rituals that you do to keep your mindset in a higher vibration?
So last year I took a course with Cindy Smith, and again, it was an angelic healing certification course, angel empowerment practitioner course. So what we do every day is we check in the morning with our angels, and we check in at night before we go to bed with our angels. That is something in the beginning that was very difficult for me, because my gift is clear knowing. I don't, at this time in my life, I don't hear, I don't see, my gift right now is just clear knowing. And I've grown up with people saying, you know, well, how do you know? I don't know, I just know. So angels are difficult for me because I also feel physical things, which growing up was always go to the doctor because she's dizzy, go to the doctor because she can't hear, which I've now come to realize is actually my different angels.
Been with you for a long time.
Right. So when I started taking these courses, I started realizing, okay, Archangel Michael's with me now because this is what's happening to me. Samuel's with me all the time. This is what happens to me, kind of thing. And then just the clear knowing. So when I took this course with Cindy in early last year, just by checking in every morning and checking in every night has been an essential thing for me. And I feel more connected to my team. But also my meditation quilt, it's with me. It's like my security blanket. It comes with me everywhere. I try and meditate at least once a day. And I don't mean like 20, 30 meditations. I mean, I throw my wheel on the ground, sit in the center, and I check in.
Yeah.
Anything I need to know, anything I need to be aware of, anything that I need to work on today, kind of a thing. It's my sacred space. When it's down on the floor, no one bugs me. I get to just check in. Yeah, and then fresh air, sunshine, that kind of thing. You know, I try to keep it. The whole company philosophy is to keep things super simple for people and for myself. And so just those simple tools seem to work the best for me. Yeah.
Powerful. And what about any advice to, you know, other people who are, you know, just kind of might be struggling at this time, or anything that you'd like to share?
Breathe. Tomorrow it'll all be different. It's just and to live in love, and to try and stay away from fear. Fear is our darkness right now. So if you can stay in a place of love, find what brings you joy, whether it's a crystal bowl or a flower outside or a gemstone, or find something in your house that brings you joy and surround yourself with those things. And then love and happiness and joy become your primary, and fear becomes secondary. So
yeah, so true. Love, it's love or fear. We can't be in both at the same time. We can only be in one.
Yes, exactly.
So just come to the end of our time. So thank you so much, Tannia. I just adore you. Thank you. And thanks for all your wisdom, and thanks for sharing so many good things. I still love the eyes wide open. You know, I think that what a gift that you had from your dad, especially as a young girl. And I think it's a great reminder too, you know, to when we do look back, I think that we all have these abilities that have been kind of with us. It's just eyes wide open and awakening to the fact that they've been with us. Very much like you, I'm a strong knower. I've just always known things. I didn't know how or why. But I have found over the years, as I've gone deeper into them, the other gifts have started to open up as well. But very much like you, it's just like this strong knowing, and I didn't know how to prove it, right?
Exactly.
And very much like the rocks, just like, why are people collecting rocks? And now, like, I have a huge collection of
Yes,
rocks
you do.
and crystals, both like big ones, small ones, like all over the place. My office is filled with them. My home is filled with them. I can't get enough. I just want to be around them and connected with them all the time. So I so love what you're doing. I so love what you're creating in the world. And, it's just such a gift to be connected with you. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Dixie. Love you, girlfriend. That was awesome.
So you can connect with Tannia. I'm going to put a link down in the show notes for you, so you can make sure that you want to follow her and connect with her. To our viewers, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found some value. And I would just love for you to invite yourself to subscribe, to continue the conversation. You can follow and connect with me at dixiebennett.com, or you can also join me in the Facebook group, Inspired Women Gathering, where you can continue on the conversation. So until next time, Abundant love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dixie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.